Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are going to learn how to factorize and solve quadratic expressions without an x squared coefficient. We've got 4 success criteria, and the first one is to use the difference of two squares to factorize expressions. So factorize means put into brackets. And a quadratic expression is one that has the highest power of something squared. So it could be x squared or y squared, just something squared. So you want to expand and simplify these double brackets and see if you notice anything. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answers, press play. So if we expand the green question, we get this answer, x squared minus 16. If we expand the orange question, we get x squared minus 9. And if we expand the purple question, we get x squared minus 100. So is there a link? Well, what you should have seen is that it made an x squared and then a squared number. And it's the square number of the number in the bracket. So if we want to factorize x squared minus 9, we can simply square root x squared and square root 9. So the square root of x squared is just x, and the square root of 9 is 3. Now one bracket will be x plus 3, and the other bracket will be x minus 3. This is known as the difference of two squares. So in this example, all we really need to think about is what the square root of 36 is. Well, the square root of 36 is 6. So one bracket will be x plus 6, and the other bracket will be x minus 6. In this example, we think about what would be the square root of 49. Well, the square root of 49 is 7. So one bracket is x plus 7, and the other bracket is x minus 7. Here, the square root of 4 is 2. So one bracket is x plus 2, and the other bracket is x minus 2. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready for your answer, press play. So in this question, the square root of 1 is 1. So we're going to have x plus 1 and x minus 1. Here's another question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready for your answer, press play. So in this question, the square root of 100 is 10. So one bracket will be x plus 10, and the other bracket will be x minus 10. In this example, we need to think about the square root of 36x squared and the square root of 49. Well, the square root of 36 is 6, and the square root of 49 is 7. So one bracket will be 6x plus 7, and the other bracket will be 6x minus 7. Remember, we can do this as long as both numbers are square numbers. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see your answer, press play. So for this question, the square root of 49 is 7. So we're going to have 7x. And the square root of 4 is 2. So we're going to have 7x plus 2 and 7x minus 2. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers, and there's your amber answers. And now we've completed success criteria 1. So now we're going to move on to number 2, and this is to factorize positive quadratic expressions. So can we make the link here? If we know that when we factorize x squared plus 5x plus 6, we can factorize it to the two brackets x plus 2 and x plus 3. So the link that you should make here is that the two numbers inside the brackets, the 2 and the 3, they times together to make 6, and they add together to make 5. So if I want to factorize x squared plus 6x plus 8, I think of a pair of numbers that will times together to make 8, but add together to make 6. So if I list numbers that times together to make 8, and see which pair adds together to make 6, those are the numbers that go inside the brackets. So my answer is x plus 2 and x plus 4. Both numbers times together to make 8, but add together to make 6. We can then use a grid method to check this. So if we expand that double bracket, we get x squared plus 6x plus 8. So we've got it right. Here's another example. So we want a pair of numbers that will times together to make 24. So if we write down all the pairs of numbers that times together to make 24, and which of these pairs add together to make 11? Well, it's 3 and 8. So one bracket will be x plus 3, and the other bracket will be x plus 8. We can check this by expanding the double bracket. So for that, we use a grid method. And see if it makes x squared plus 11x plus 24, which it does. So that must be our answer. So to recap, we want a pair of numbers that will times together to make 35 and add together to make 12. So for this question, it must be x plus 5 and x plus 7. They times together to make 35 and add together to make 12. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So they make a pair. They make a pair. They make a pair. They make a pair. and finally they make a pair. And now we've completed success criteria 2. So now we're going to move on to number 3, and this is to factorize quadratic expressions with positive and or negative signs. So again, if we want to factorize this into 2 brackets, we look for a pair of numbers that will times together to make minus 20. So if they times together to make minus 20, one has to be positive and one number has to be negative. So these are all the numbers that will times together to make minus 20. Then we need to have a look and think which pair will add together to make minus 1, because we've got minus 1x. So the pair that adds together to make minus 1 will be 4 and minus 5. So these are the numbers that go inside the brackets: x plus 4 and x minus 5. Again, we can use a grid method to expand the double bracket and check that our answer is correct, which it is. So our answer is x plus 4 and x minus 5. Here's another example. So I want pairs of numbers that will times together to make 50, but they've got to add together to make minus 15. So I know this time both numbers need to be negative. And think which pair of numbers will add together to make minus 15. Well, that's minus 5 and minus 10. They times together to make positive 50, because remember, 2 negatives when you times them together make a positive, and they add together to make minus 15. So inside the bracket, we must have x minus 5 and x minus 10. Again, we can check this by expanding the double bracket, and it works. So that must be our answer. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So we want to factorize x squared minus 5x plus 6. So we want a pair of numbers that times together to make positive 6, but add together to make minus 5. So if they add together to make minus 5, both numbers need to be negative. And now we need to see which pair adds together to make minus 5. So that's minus 2 and minus 3. So inside the brackets, we must have x minus 2 and x minus 3. We can check this by expanding the double bracket using the grid method. And our answer is correct. So our answer is x minus 2, x minus 3. So to recap, we want a pair of numbers that will multiply to make minus 15 and add to give minus 2. So in this case, it's minus 5 and positive 3. So we factorize it to x minus 5 and x plus 3. Here's another example. So we need to find 2 numbers that will multiply to make 10, but add together to make minus 7. So in this case, it's minus 5 and minus 2. So our brackets will be x minus 5, x minus 2. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers. There's your amber answers. And there's your red answers. And now we've completed success criteria 3. So now we're going to move on to number 4, and this is to solve quadratics by factorising. So this is the graph of y equals x squared plus 2x minus 3. When we solve a quadratic equation, x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0, we are finding the points where the curve crosses the x-axis. Now we can see from the graph that the curve crosses the x-axis at 1 and minus 3. So that means x equals minus 3 and x equals 1. If we want to solve this without having to draw a graph, we factorise it into 2 brackets first. So we want a pair of numbers that times together to make 14, but adds together to make 9. So if we write down numbers that times together to make 14, and the pair that adds together to make 9 is 2 and 7. So that means we factorise it to x plus 2 and x plus 7. Now because we want to solve it, it equals 0. So for the 2 brackets multiplied together to equal 0, one of the brackets must be 0. So either x plus 2 equals 0, or x plus 7 equals 0. If we solve this equation by taking 2 off both sides, you can see that x equals minus 2. And if we solve this equation by taking 7 off both sides, x equals minus 7. And there are our answers. Here's another example. This time we want a pair of numbers that will times together to make minus 20, but add together to make positive 1. So numbers that times together to make minus 20, and then which pair will add together to make positive 1? That's minus 4 and 5. So our pair of brackets are x minus 4 and x plus 5. If we make each of these brackets equal 0, and then we can solve each equation to find out what x is. So for this equation, x equals 4. And for this equation, x equals minus 5. So our answer is x equals 4 or minus 5. Here's a question for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to see what you should have done, press play. So for this question, to be able to solve it, we need to factorise it into 2 brackets first. That means thinking of 2 numbers that times together to make positive 6, but adding together to make minus 5. So we know both numbers need to be negative, and the 2 numbers that will add together to make -5 are -2 and -3. So our double bracket is x minus 2, x minus 3. If we make each of these brackets equal 0, we can solve it. So for this equation, x equals 2. And for this equation, x equals 3. So our answer is x equals 2 or x equals 3. Here are some questions for you to have a go at. Pause the video, and when you're ready to mark your work, press play. Here are your answers. So there's your green answers, and there's your amber answers. So now we've completed success criteria 4. Now that we've completed the last objective, it's time to end the video. Hope you enjoyed it and hope you found it useful. Make sure to like and subscribe and be sure to check out the videos on the rest of the channel. I'll see you next time. See ya.